I am Kareem Nelson Hull. In 2019, charisma and popularity won an entire election. That charisma later revealed some criminal activity, and that popularity has resulted in people policing us. For campaign 2023, only one word will matter to the people of the Virgin Islands. Of the 6 principles behind me: accountability, empowerment, transparency, inspiration, and hope, it is integrity that will matter most. For the next hour or so, I'm happy that you are here for a little project that I call Interview with Integrity. After this break, we'll be back with the PVIM district candidates.
Accountability. The power of trust works 2 ways. If you trust us enough to elect us, then we will respect you enough to answer your questions and produce the constitutionally required reports on time. Transparency. We have nothing to hide. Our candidates do their best to be law-abiding and decent citizens daily, and will transfer the principles that have made them personally successful to secure the same for government and the people, and will do so in a fair and visible way. Empowerment. The power of the people is more powerful than the people in power, and we support that power. We want to serve a people who has clear views and places a demand on government, and who feels enabled and comfortable to express that, has avenues to do so, and can do so without fear. Inspiration. What we do now is not for ourselves, but for our future. If we're able to inspire the next generation with noble action and service, then we've done one thing right. Integrity. Simply defined, integrity is what we do when no one is watching. What we do and say publicly is what we will say and fight for privately. Integrity to us is more than an action. It's a code of conduct to which all our candidates and members are called. Hope. The contagious feeling of hope has to take over our territory and reach children and adults from Horseshoes Reef to Great Harbor. Once there is life, there is hope. And once there is hope, there is a promise of a better life for all Virgin Islanders, locals and residents alike.
Welcome back, and help me welcome the PVIM district candidates. Hi, welcome. Thank you. Welcome. Nice. Welcome. Welcome. Hello, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, right?
You sure?
Yes.
All right. I won't have the pleasure of voting for a PVIM candidate in my district, but how lucky are the people of District 1, with you, Sylvia Moses, District 2, Melvin Mitch Turnbull, I want to call you Mitch, naturally, Paul Underval, Mr. Hewlett in District 4, and all the way over there, Serene Flax Shawls in District 9. How lucky are the people of your district to have such people that stand for integrity and are willing to stand for this territory? If you would, allow me to be the first person to give you a round of applause. I personally believe that every person that elects or decides to stand for election and just to help to direct this territory deserves that applause. It's an honorable job, and we know that what you are facing in the next coming days, and if you are elected or when you are elected, there's so much work for you to do immediately getting into the office. So it makes me want to ask a question, and I'll start with you. In the last election, you were the only person of the PVIM ticket that won your seat. Congratulations on that again.
Thank you.
So for the last 4 years, you've been a flag bearer for PVIM. The principles that you stood for 4 years ago, are those the same principles that have drawn you back to the PVIM?
Those are the same 4 principles, but the background principles of PVIM are the 6 principles of empowerment, transparency, hope, inspiration, accountability, for the people of these Virgin Islands, and integrity, which is the most important one, that integrity matters. So I stand on those principles. I stand on those principles for the people of the 2nd District, as well as the people for the larger BVI community. And I am here again, grateful to God, grateful to the people of these Virgin Islands for entrusting me to lead during this time. But I am happy to be joined by a team of strong, dedicated, and integral persons in these district candidates that we have with us today.
If you would allow, a recent news story that I researched read this morning actually talks about your integrity. You took a stand in the House of Assembly against something that you didn't agree with, and it basically you've been vindicated. Said you took the right stand. How does that make you feel that your integrity is unwavering?
Well, I don't know if it makes me feel good because the country's still in a bad place. I would just have hoped that we were listened to when I made that stand, because it was not just a stand for political points. It was a stand from research. It was a stand from position. And to see that even 2 years later that we had to wait again for somebody to tell us, somebody additional to tell us that we were doing the wrong things, it makes me sad for the country, because we continually have to be building and our footing is removed from us. So I'm standing with this team, Progressive Virgin Islands Movement. I'm standing with a group of leaders, of people who believe in doing what is best and right for the people of these Virgin Islands first, and upbuilding the country on these integral principles that we stand on. And for me, we will build this Virgin Islands back. It is not about popularity. It's not about anything else other than the principled approach that we must put our people first. We must build these Virgin Islands for generations yet to come.
Look over my shoulder and make sure the answer to these questions are not posted somewhere behind me. That's a very solid answer. I'm going to ask you some more questions, but I want to ask other members of the panel before, and I'm going to start all the way down to my far right. How are you doing?
I am doing extremely well.
You look excited.
I am so excited.
And that blue looks beautiful on you.
As always. You know, that's one of my favorite colors other than black.
All right.
So I fit in quite nicely.
I think you do. And I think the PVIM is happy to have you as a part of the family. Genuinely
and
are.
I am happy to be a part.
So you're returning to the political arena again. You are going to stand for election. And first of all, as I said, congratulations. Thank you for doing that for your people. I want to know, when you started your political career about 4 years ago, the principles why you ran 4 years ago, are those the same reason that draw you back to this race again?
Well, I would say yes. What I would say is that empowerment of the people is very, very important to me. And the people put me in a position where I was able to fight for them, and I will continue to do so. We're one big community, and while I am contesting the 9th district, I will be looking out for the entire territory.
Now, in a point of transparency, you and I had a beautiful conversation a few months ago. We were both on the ferry. We were going to Anegada. And I really at that time thought that I got to learn your heart, and I saw how much your heart was for the people. I know that one of the things that you said at the time, it is a lot of work and sometimes it's even tiring. So why then run for election again? Well,
I'll tell you, if anyone in the BVI knows the Flax family, they will know that we're a family of workers. We don't take a break on New Year's Eve. We don't take a break at Christmas. We don't celebrate birthdays to that point, because we are literally always working, making other people happy. And we all grew up in the tourism industry. I was folding sheets with my sister from the time we were 5 years old. And so I come from hard-working persons, and sometimes you're dog tired, but you know you have to continue. Sometimes that phone rings in the middle of the night, and you're like, I wonder what that is, and I have to answer it because somebody is in need. And so for me, it is really about making sure that people are satisfied, that people understand that we are a community that wants to help each other. We want to love each other, but most of all, we have to empower each other.
Now, every time you speak to someone like myself or in the press, you recognize you're basically on an interview for a job. I want to ask you a direct interview type question. What do you bring to the table, Ms. Flax-Charles?
What I bring to the table, I'm a fighter. I don't back down. If something is wrong, I'm going to speak it. I'm going to say it. And that, I think, is important. Transparency is something that is so integral to us being successful in this territory. And so for me, I think those are some of the things I bring to the table. And I also bring hope for our young people. So many of them reach out and they can interact with me. They feel comfortable talking to me. We always joke because they approach me as if I'm their age. And I say to them, I'm not as young as I look. But those are some of the things that I bring to the table. And I want to make sure that persons know that what we as PVIM are doing, it's not about us individually. It's about the country. It's about making this BVI a better place and bringing the BVI back to its former glory.
It would be remiss of me not to ask you this specific question. You are not only a symbol to me of empowerment, but specifically, you're a symbol of women empowerment. How important is it to you as a woman in this political arena to be represented?
Well, I will say I am so happy to be in the room with other women.
Right.
And it is important that our young girls, teenagers, young ladies, older women in the community realize that we must have a place at that table and we must demand that respect as well. And I believe sometimes we do come from a very patriarchal society, but I think a lot of that is changing. And a lot of men in our communities are realizing that women and men must work together. But we have to be at the table. We're not just putting the food at the table. We must sit at that table as well because it will make a difference in our communities. And women have a different way of dealing with things. My husband always jokes, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And women think differently from men. We have a more motherly approach. So I'm not going to, I have 3 children and I treat all of them equally. They have different personalities, but if I have a loaf of bread, I'm going to share that bread equally among the 3. And I think that's a lot of what women bring to the table, not negating the good qualities of the men that I'm sitting up here with.
You guys good. You guys good. They're good. They're comfortable. Right?
But it's teamwork.
Yes.
It has to be about teamwork so that we can empower a nation.
I completely appreciate that, and I
Thank
resonate
you.
with that message for sure. I'm going to start to right next to you. How are you doing, Paul Underval?
Very well.
Can I
thank
call
you.
you that, or should we can we still say Underval?
That's fine with me.
That's fine with you, because you've always been Underval. I do think so personally. So my question to you is quite simple, right? Why are you standing for general election?
Well, I just feel that at this point in time, that people needed to see a new face for a start. There was a lot of talk around overall about, you know, a lot of people being there and some people coming back that are not really looking out for the welfare of the being of the territory. So I felt that was very important. Also, somebody that has high integrity. So I have been known all my life as somebody with high integrity that believes that there's a right way and a wrong way that things should and should not be done. And because of that, I felt it was vitally important that I put my foot in, and become part of this movement. And I felt that PVM was the right family. I've spoken to all 3 parties, I'm going to be quite honest.
Understood.
Right? And there was no doubt in my mind that this was the right place for me. I was home.
Yeah.
Integrity, transparency, empowerment, hope, right? Accountability. That is what I get here. And that's why I'm here. And the people of the Virgin Islands will understand and see that that's what we stand for. Accountability, and we care about the people. Politics is about the people, not about you and I. It's about the people, and that's why we're here.
The kind of passion that I feel from you probably will last for the next 4 years.
It better.
So you could, but you also could have chosen to run 4 years from now. Why now? Why are you stepping up to the plate this minute?
Well, there isn't room for me to give this boring story already. So during the pandemic, as you know, we told we had to stay in the house and we couldn't leave. I had an extra time to think. Now, I've always been a self-made person. I've always believed in working for myself. And during that period of time, it just came to me, sitting at home with very little to do. And I said, listen, I need to do more for my people. I need to do more for the Virgin Islands. And so here's the deal. On the 9th of the 6th, 2021, I made the decision and got up and went and spoke to one of the honorable gentlemen, I won't call her name, and said, listen, I want to get in the ring. I have made the decision. The time is now, and I'm going to get this thing done. And from that day up to now, I have moved forward. So it is not, my decision has nothing to do with what has happened or what has transpired and all the different things. I had already made my decision before that I was getting into the ring, and I got into the ring for the simple reason that it was time for myself to come out there and to help our Virgin Islands. And we talk about loving the Virgin Islands. Well, I love the Virgin Islands. I have a lot. I have children, grandchildren, I have property, everything here. I have something to lose. So that's the reason why.
So for a man who has worked for himself, if not all, most of your life, the next question might be a bit difficult for you because you don't go to interviews. So then tell us what you bring to the table.
Well, that's really simple. Because Paul and the Ball has been about sports all my life. It's been about people. Maybe you might know that I was a teacher. I taught. I taught the higher forms, not the lower forms. I taught English language and English lit. And so I've always had that ability to pass on to people, to help people, to talk about people. And so that has always been my focus, the ability to go out there and to help people and to develop and get them to where they want to go.
Wonderful. I like to be transparent when we're talking to the audience. So for transparency, before I ask you your questions, Miss Moses, and I always say Miss Moses because she is actually a former supervisor of mine. We worked together. So I know her and I saw her in the office. I saw her grind. I saw her work to build this country, protect our name. So Miss Moses, seeing you here is always refreshing. It's always familiar for me as well. My question to you, you tried 4 years ago, you were unsuccessful. And, at first you don't succeed, you will try again. We appreciate that kind of tenacity for you to return. But why are you stepping up for a general election again?
Call to higher service.
Call to higher service.
I was a former public officer, as you mentioned, for quite a number of years. And so that was service in itself. And so after I retired from public office, I had a number of people come up to me and said, we need you back within House of Assembly. And so I did put forward myself last general elections. And the same people, and even more, even people outside of District 1 came to me and said, Sylvia, we need you back. We need people like you within House of Assembly to work on our behalf and represent all the people of District 1. And so for that reason, I'm here to give myself, give further service to the BVI.
Now, you could have also decided to wait. If 4 years ago it was an arduous campaign, you might have been tired and all that. But why do you decide to do it now? Why are you getting back in for the country right now?
The BVI needs people. They need people with integrity. They need people with leadership qualities. And like I've said before, people came and said, no, Sylvia, you need to move now. And so here I am now again.
I do appreciate that. So let me turn the table, Supervisor, and I'm going to ask you a question. All right? What do you bring to this table?
As a former public officer, I served as head of department for 2 departments, the Department of Inland Revenue and the Department of International Affairs. I also served as a member on the PVI Tax Information Agreement negotiation team. And so I traveled widely on behalf of PVI to negotiate on BVI's behalf for agreements, that will be in our best interest. And so I feel I bring that background and that knowledge, information and experience of government operations. And I feel I will be able to, like I say, work on behalf of the people in a higher office.
Oh, this is a lot that we've just have to unpack here. So we have someone in District 9 who can therefore explode and even help in tourism, hard work, empowerment, women integrity. So one in District 4 who knows how to create businesses, make them succeed, work, and you're also a teacher. So you connect to young people and you have a good patient spirit, I'm sure. Definitely, we need that. Then we have a seasoned person from government who has traveled across the world on this territory's behalf. And what you said there was not easy. You helped negotiate the tax agreements for this territory. That was very important because we know those things help build the financial services sector. That is actually really poignant. So after hearing all that they bring to the table, sir, here's an empty table. What do you bring back to the table?
What I bring back to the table, Kareem, and I join, it is not about any individual, but what I bring back to the table collectively with this team and with the other members of our team is that ability to stand on principle, that ability to understand that it is not about me, it is not about I, it is about we. And we cannot go on popularity, so it is about standing on principle. It is about being that voice for the people of the Virgin Islands, going against the grain. I bring my financial background, my management experience, together with my investment experience, and the ability to have the approach and have the courage to speak on international forums, as now serving recently as the Minister of Natural Resources and Labor, and before that even being in the opposition. But my background and what I bring to the table is the heart for the Virgin Islands, is the heart for the people of the Virgin Islands. And we are at a place right now where even where we were put together after May 2nd, after the April 28th and 29th debacle, it was important for me to not look at what I wanted to do for myself, but look at what the country needed. And I believe purpose and passion and discipline is important to get us to where we need to get to. But I can't do it alone. I don't want to do it alone. And we will do it with this team, the Progressive Virgin Islands Movement, because integrity matters.
You mentioned the debacle in what you just said, and I know it could be exhausting to you, and I know you're right there as well. It could also be discouraging. Why then are you still standing for general election?
Because our country deserves better. Our country is in a broken state. We are walking around with our heads held in certain areas. We are broken, we are beaten, but we're not down. We're not out yet. And there's enough of us that are still willing to stand on principles, stand on integrity, stand on accountability, and empower not just the younger generation, but glean the knowledge and glean the resources from those that came before us, and guide with that wisdom so we can propel ourselves further again. So as long as we are looking up, we can get up and we will continue to move forward. And that's what this team is about, because together we are stronger. So in that vein, I am standing again, because I believe in the hope for this Virgin Islands. At the end of the dark tunnel, if there are men and women that I stand with and I sit with here in this team that can see hope and see the light at the end of that dark tunnel, that's what we're going to go forward. And we're going to empower, and then we're going to inspire persons that accountability is not just something that you throw around. Empowerment is not something that you throw out, but we will live it. And each of us have displayed that in our lives. You can check our track records. You can check our DNAs and ensure that any one of us around this table, on this team, have a track record that we are accountable, that we are transparent, and we stand on integrity. It is not about popularity. It is not about being the most liked person, but it's about doing the work, and not the catchphrases, but the things that matter and make an effect.
I'm going to end this segment by asking you one semi-fun question. Let me see, how do we start? Paul,
Sure.
what do you like most about Mitch?
Mitch, I just find he's a really straightforward guy. He's fun-loving. I feel very comfortable around him. I have a sixth sense.
Okay.
And from the first time I met Mitch, I was very comfortable around him. I just liked his mojo, if I can put it that way. And I just think that once you get to spend time around him, you get to talk to him and you get to know him, which I fortunately actually got to spend 3 hours with him recently. But it felt like about 15, 20 minutes, I kid you not. And he'll probably tell you the same. We really just meshed, and a really nice guy to spend time with. And he's genuine. Mitch is a genuine guy.
All right. Mitch, what do you like most about Shireen? Now, you used to stand in the House of Assembly on opposite sides, right? Now you are together. What have you? Tell me what you like most about her now.
About how now, it's the same thing that I started to like about her 4 years ago.
When you were even looking at her across the aisle.
Across the aisle. She reminded me of myself 4 years prior. She reminded me of the importance of going against the grain and standing for principle, even when she was unpopular. Because she would tell you many times, I would walk into her office and I said, "Honorable, you sure?" Just as I was asked, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Just remember, even though you are standing alone, it does not mean that you're alone.
Yeah.
But her principles, and she's willing to do the research, she's willing to work. She's about the Virgin Islands people. I hear people complain and try to call her all kind of names, but the names that they are calling her, she is dogmatic about helping people.
Okay.
She is intentional about bringing about change to these Virgin Islands, and she's absolutely committed to empowering the young people of this territory, but ensuring that the Virgin Islands progresses. So from her research and her background in tourism and management, she is displaying all of that. And as a district candidate now in the 9th district, I believe it is only higher and better that they'll be able to go to represent these Virgin Islands for future years to come.
I wish when you say stuff like empower young people, I could tell you all the story about a show that I used to host, Gen Y Factor, and how this woman at the end literally helped us. Like when we had no money, when nobody was coming forward, how Shireen X Charles was always there. But I can't tell you that story now. I'll tell you that story later. When you see me on the street, ask me about how Shireen X Charles got those young people to sing, okay? And how she sat in the front row, watching them, following every single note. Her and her husband, I remember from hosting the show, always been a fan, putting her money where her mouth is. Tell me something, Shireen, about Sylvia. What do you like about her?
Sylvia is very calm because I think it might be a little bit, whenever she walks into the room, I feel a calm. I feel she's somebody that I can come to and say, Sylvia, listen, I have this challenge. And with all of her experience and knowledge, she will be able to assist. And I'm so happy that she's been involved in government for so long as a civil servant, working for these Virgin Islands, because I will be able to gain knowledge from her. And I'm a little bit more, how do I put it, aggressive, as people would say.
And that's fine.
And so, and yes, it is fine. But then we make a good team. I believe that all of the women on the PVIM team have proven themselves over the years, and we are all willing to work together to ensure that these Virgin Islands come out on top at the end of the day. But Sylvia brings to the table, and for me, I love that, because while I can be I get excited. People think I shout sometimes, which I don't have literally a female voice. You can hear that. But she's very calm and serene, and I love that. And what do they say? Easy dogs bite hard. So we know that we have in her someone that will keep the balance. And that is very, very important for us as a team, that we're balanced. And that is where, when you look at the scales of integrity, it is important that we have balance, because it'll make us work together better. It'll make us turn things around. And we intend to do that, turn the Virgin Islands around come election day 2023.
Miss Sylvia, you're up last but not least. Tell me something that you like about Paul.
Paul on the ball.
Careful.
What I admire about Paul is that he is very committed to his sports, and any type of sports, you could depend on Paul, to bring it out. And I myself used to play sports, and one of the things he would bring is a lot of history. And so I'm happy to be here on the team with him, because I know within government we have a lot of things we need to do in terms of developing sports, and I feel Paul will be able to address those head on.
I asked you guys that final question just for one reason, to check the cohesion and the flow between the team. Oftentimes we elect governments and we hear about fallouts, and we can't afford that as a territory. And I feel like you guys are tight. I'm really impressed, and thank you guys for sitting and talking with me. If you have the fortune to be able to vote for one of the PVIM candidates in your district, I won't have that luxury, all right? I suggest if you're in District 1, you would vote for Sylvia Moses. If you're in District 2, you will vote for Melvin Mitch Turnbull. Is Mitch going to be on the ballot? Do they put that in there? They do.
Yes, they
I
do.
like that. All right. In District 4, you can vote for Paul Hewlett. And in District 9, it is clear that you will vote for Shireen Flax Charles. And they'll all be supported by this symbol. It'll be right next to their name. It is an arrow held bentwise, and it tells you a story about progression for this territory. And these are the 4 people in the district arena who represent progression, but most of all, they represent integrity. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back with the at-large candidates.
From the need for progression and the need for a new direction, the Progressive Virgin Islands Movement's PVIM logo is a modern and refreshing emblem of hope and inspiration. 2 tenets of the PVIM. An arrow held vertically is a symbol of divinity. An arrow held horizontally is a symbol of stagnation. But an arrow held diagonally is our symbol of progression. The curve appearing in the arrow is no mistake, as it represents the unfortunate turn that our beloved territory has taken. But straight and narrow is the path to redemption, recovery, and resilience. And we're confident that we can lead the way forward. Dressed in the inviting and welcoming movement colors, shades of blue, the logo's circular flanges are permanent symbols of an all-encompassing view of a Virgin Islands able to change the course of direction back to better again. The breaks at the top of the circle are pathways for inclusion, symbolizing the open door to the people, beckoning for them to come in and join the movement and be the movement. Those doors will never close. Let's journey forward, onward, upward, and together.
Welcome back, and help me welcome the PVIM Territorial at-large candidates.
Gary.
Welcome back, sir. Hey, Shayna.
Hey,
Welcome
Gary.
back. Hi, welcome. All right, welcome. I requested for you guys to sit in this specific order because normally we would have our chairman closest and he will speak first. But I know you're comfortable hanging out there and watching them having their turn to talk. And then Shayna, you've been here before, so we're going to come to you a bit later. But I want to start with the 2 candidates who are closest to me. Not you first. We're going to go with the lady first. And you will allow me because you know personally she is from the same district that I am from. All right? Yes, so she's going to have this good treatment, okay? And you're going to allow that. Ingrid, good day. May I call you Ingrid? You don't mind?
Of course you can.
I'm always tempted to say Madam Speaker still. I think that you serve the territory so well. And as someone coming from the district in Purcell and knowing your mom and my grandmother being friends, I remember the day when my grandmother died, it was your mother that touched my shoulder and said, it's going to be all right. I remember that. And watching you sit there in your robe and do the gavel sometimes in the House of Assembly, it was a proud moment for me. And I want to take this time to start by just telling you that. And I think that you standing for election is another proud moment for our district. So I want to congratulate you for taking this brave stand. And when I say brave, I mean brave, because when you think about it, at-large candidates, this is the big time. You know, in the movie The Prince of Egypt, I always remember the song where he says, you're playing with the big boys now, and you're asking the entire territory to look at you, to examine you. And when you go to the polls, you have 5 votes, 1 in your district and 4 at large. And the ideal is they'll give each of you the trust of those at-large votes. So what I want to ask you, Ms. Ingrid, the question is, why are you standing for general election for this territory?
Kareem, I have a desire to serve this territory. My parents came to the BVI from St. Kitts in the early 1960s. My father came as a wide-eyed 16-year-old straight out of high school. Both of them have worked in the territory in the hospitality industry. My mom started working at the Fort Bott Hotel, which then became the Morins Marina Inn with Charlie and Jenny Carey. She has worked there from most of her life and all of my life. My father, when he came, he worked with Mr. Ellis Skelton, which is the father of Honorable Ronnie W. Skelton. He then went on to work at Peter Island Hotel and then the renowned Prospect Reef Resort. In July 1985, he was one of the first employees that started one of the largest gas companies in the territory. He is still employed there. Because of the sacrifice and the contributions that my parents made to help build this territory, as well as all forefathers and all residents in the territory, I feel an obligation to give back to the territory. I have been given much, although they came from nothing. I was able to graduate from high school. On my own merit, I obtained a scholarship from the BVI government to pursue my studies at university. I came back and I am here offering myself today to the people of the territory to give me an opportunity to help give back what the territory has so given my parents, myself, and many residents in the territory.
You know you're not allowed to make me cry, right? Like you're not supposed to do that to the one asking the question. So, wow, that's brilliant and that's actually beautiful. So you could have waited 4 years from now, you know? I heard your name come up before. You could have come earlier, but I think must be a reason why you've chosen now. This is the time. Why is it now for you?
If not now, then when? In all my 53 years, that's as long as I have been alive, there has never been a more critical time in the life of this territory than now. It is imperative for all of us to understand where we are as a people and where we need to go to overcome the challenges that present themselves before us. The challenges are not just here locally. The challenges are internationally and globally.
So I'll ask you this question. When I think about it, I'm going to throw this out. 1, you're a former Speaker of the House. Check. You're from District 6, Purcell. Check, check. For me, what else do you bring to the table? Those are 2 good things that qualify you, but what else do you bring to this table?
Kareem, all my life, I've learned and I stand on principle, even if I'm the only one standing. And at first, you may appear to be the only one standing. And it's the very principle is the reason why I've made the decision to stand for elections. Because I believe it is one of the most critical times in the territory, and we need people who are strong, capable, competent, who have integrity, accountability, transparency, and as the 2 of the other 6 points of the PVIM, it's hope. The people of the territory need hope so that we can move forward with a sense of purpose. We need to empower our people and inspire them, because we must admit we need inspiring leadership. That is the hope that everyone wants. That is why I am here, and that is why I believe the entire team is here, because we need to restore the territory. We need a reset, and we need to do it now. It's not about me, but it's for my daughter, Takara. It is for her children and their children and future generations to come. I have a responsibility and a duty to do what I can to make a better way of life for future generations, because of the work our forefathers did, my parents and residents did, I was able to achieve what I achieved and to live a comfortable life. And we are responsible to ensure that future generations are able to do that as well. And there's no time than now. If you have never, in my view, this is not an ordinary election. It cannot be business as usual. It is the most defining moment in the history of this territory, because this is going to chart the way forward. We need a reset. And I think the group that is sitting here, this is the group that is needed to make that reset so that we can help young people, individuals, families, make this a better place to live and to enjoy prosperity.
I'm with you.
Amen.
I recognize that when you're talking, you actually come forward, you believe that. And I love your point on hope. I think the territory has been through a lot, and hope is something that we sometimes cast away as not as important or as solid, but it's something that lifts the collective spirit, and we definitely need that. Full transparency, I'd like to make sure I do so. I'm thinking, what do I refer to you as? Legally, you're Stacy. Everybody calls you Buddha, but as a former teacher, I only call you Meta. But you know what I want to call you? Definitely going to be elected. I want to call you Honorable. I'm going to call her Honorable. Honorable, Honorable. And you see how you put Honorable in his name? He hasn't carried that title for a while, but it's so befitting, and it's something that's deserving of his. So I want to add that to your thing. So I've asked you before, you should run. Yeah, you should run. I've seen you up in Easton. Yep, you should run. I see you in town. You should run. And then you call in and say, Karim, I'm calling you because I want to let you know something. What's that, Mr. Meta? I'm running. Finally, right? So why are you now standing for general election?
So Kareem, to stand for elections in our country is a hard decision. It's a very difficult decision for anyone. And for me, I was back and forth on it, right? But I realized that the territory needs healing, if I piggyback on what Ingrid said. You know, I grew up in a territory where when I sat in class, I saw the names of our representatives, and I got nostalgic as a child. I was like, I know these people. I want to aspire to be like them. The BVI government invested in me in my undergraduate and my graduate studies. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to come back to the territory. I'm going to do what's necessary. So I started education. So as you may know, I've been in education for 30 years now, so education and youth development. And at this point in time, when I go around the territory and I listen to the young people and the families that I've worked with, they're not voting. They have no interest in leadership. They don't believe that we have integrity, we have accountability. We need to heal. And as Ingrid said, we need hope. If we cannot show and demonstrate the type of leadership that's necessary and possible in our country right now, then in 30 years, we will have no leaders because we're turning people away from that. The BVI was a prosperous place, integrity, accountability. Across the region, we were known. Now, we're no longer that. But we do have the hope and the ability in our people to bring that back to our territory. And for me, all young people must see that example now, so that later, when I am old and I'm sitting down and I'm chilling out, I know those young people that I work with believe that they can do what's necessary in our territory. So give them the example that they need now, so that later we have a better life.
So I'll take out teacher. I'll just take that one of your qualifications, right? So we know you can teach, right? Actually, excellent as well. I'll tell you this one moment. Hopefully you remember. I'm in class 5. Tell you guys a story. I'm in class 5, and my school, the Mighty Scatliff, is going for the science fair. Something we normally are not going to win. Everything is against us. We can't win this. But they put Mr. Mater to teach me my speech presentation to go to present. Before we go to the room, Mr. Mater says, go by the gut over there and get some trash in a bag. And I said, me? In my school uniform? He said, yes, go get the trash. We fill the bag of trash. I make the presentation exactly I was trained. He took the time. And at the end of the presentation, we opened the garbage and we threw it out on the floor in the conference room. And I say, is this the BVI that we envisage? Is this what you want to see in your BVI? In 1995, Scatliff Primary School wins the science fair. Meta, the teacher, taught me that. So your teaching skills are proven. At least we won an award for that. But what else are you going to bring to this table? After 30 years, you retired from teaching. What else do you have to bring?
So for me right now, the last 20 years I've spent my life working on YEP. I think majority of the population would know that. And I took something that was an idea in my head, and I saw a need in the community that wasn't being addressed. And with support, we were able to create something that is recognized. It hasn't been expanded, which is coming, but for me, I think what I bring to the table is the ability to look at things that have been sitting on the shelf for a very long time, especially for our young people and individuals and the elderly. And I can help us bring that out and make it happen. Because if we can't bring that ability to take something from a thought and put it into action, we have so many things in our territory that we're saying, when can we do it? When will it happen? We're too small. This cannot happen. I believe it can happen now. So let's get it done.
Appreciate that. So we've heard from the two new kids on the block, basically, right? And I'm wondering, before I move on to, I'll call you by first name, Shayna and Ronnie. I was wondering if Ronnie, who has ran and won at large, And previously, we had the chance to talk to Shireen Flex-Charles, who ran and won at large. Did they give you any tips as you are now entering this at large arena?
So both gave advice. Ronnie's very interesting. He's a very calm individual, right? So he said
he
to
can't hear you, just you and I.
Yeah, very calm individual. So what he said to me was, Beta, understand this, right? You're going to meet a lot of people, and you're going to really understand what is going on in the country when you go among our people. When you go among our people, listen. Let them know that you're listening. Don't talk as much as you listen, because they now have the opportunity to talk to you. And for years, they've been unheard. That's what I heard from Skelton, from Honorable Skelton, sorry. From Shireen, what I heard was, bring the spirit of who I am to everyone. Be who I am. Do not try to be someone else. Be as genuine as I can be. And there will be those who embrace me, and there will be those who will say, okay, you know what? I respect him for who he is. So I admire that advice. It was strong.
And who he is wearing tattoos, right? And like me wearing dreads. Do you think this is okay in the political arena? I like it. We're gonna rep it. That's fine, you know. But do you think that for some people it poses a challenge? And have you thought about that?
I have, but at the same time, the usual hasn't worked for us. It just hasn't worked for us. We've elected people who will sit with us. They will talk with us. They will court us, and then eventually they abuse us. So maybe something unusual is what we need. So I don't think there's anything about me that is strange right now. I was good enough to take care of the children of the territory. I'm good enough to take care of the territory. And
you were good enough to help us win that science fair in '95. Sure. So we're going to win now as well. I'm going to ask you the question, Ingrid, the same question. Did Ronnie or Shireen teach you anything or say, this is what you need to know?
I started with Honorable Skelton. He's someone I respect immensely. He stands for integrity, and that matters more than ever. He's a leader, and those are impeccable traits. He's upfront, and I like people who are upfront.
Okay.
Shireen, Honorable Flex-Charles, my apologies.
And you know they don't mind, right?
Yeah, but it's the respectful thing.
They don't mind, but I understand.
They're honorables, and we need to treat them accordingly. The message around is to always be your authentic self. Do not allow anyone rather to change you from who you are. I am who I am. Everyone here is who they are. Do not allow anything or anyone to make you compromise your values or change who you are, because then you become not what you were when you started on this journey. And that is very, very important to me. So be true to yourself.
Wonderful. Shayna, sitting right next to her, do you guys get a sense of pride looking at the new class coming in?
Yes, we second the motions.
You do? Can I just start with you, first of all, a bit personal congratulations. Since the last time we met you 4 years ago, there's now a ring on that ring. If you like it, then you got to put a ring on it. And so congratulations for that. And I think that as you move to that segment of your life, now being a wife, it may be something in your mind that, oh, I'm starting a family. I don't want to get into the political arena, but yet you are offering yourself again for general election. Can you tell me why?
Well, I guess my story actually starts back in 2010, Kareem. Because for those that don't know, this is the 4th time stepping up on the platform. And the motivation actually came from my nephew. I went to his 5th birthday party at Wonder Years Daycare. And at that time, we all know what was happening around the country, 2010, 2011. And I was like, you know, these kids are here, 5 years old, eating cake, not a care in the world, Kareem. I was working in the Ministry of Finance at the time, and I was completely worried about what is happening in our country, and more so, what are they going to meet in 10, 15 years? You know, similar to what Stacey talked about. It's kind of like, you know, what are we leaving as our legacy? You know, and can we do better? Yes, we can. And that was what gave me the courage, I would say, because it was because of them. You know, as I can relate to everything that Ingrid said. I went through the public school system, had a national scholarship, came back, worked in the Ministry of Finance with this gentleman here. And, you know, a lot of what I learned about public service through that experience really showed me where, you know, the talents and the gifts that I've been given can be, you know, taken to that next level. And it's like, you know, my whole, one of my personal goals is always leave something better than you met it. So whether it's I'm part of an organization or, you know, in family relationships, whatever it is, leave it better than you met it. Because when we received it from those that have gone before us, you know, they leave us in charge and holding us responsible to leave something of an inheritance for that next generation coming.
That level of intellect, that level of maturity, accountability that you project and that you are, do you think that the territory is ready for that now? Why now?
Oh, it's absolutely necessary now. You know, especially, you know, the visual I have, people talk about the country being at a crossroad. My visual is the country is hanging off a cliff by its fingernails. We are in very serious times right now, and there's a serious decision that voters have to make this time around in terms of, as Stacey said, whose hands are you going to put this country in to move forward with?
So I want you to just break it down for me a bit. What do you bring to the table? Because I don't think some people may know how very professionally qualified you are, actually. I'm always in awe of your intellect. And then when I dig a little bit, I'm just like, oh, wow, this is a extensive background, extreme training, real pressed and, you know, put together. What do you do? What do you bring to this table?
Well, it starts off, I guess, with my engineering background. One of the things that I think has taken me thus far is my analytical skills. Because again, we have a lot of problems, Kareem. And I always say to persons, in engineering, it is possible to try to solve the wrong problem. Okay. So as an engineer, it's like we like to get in there, you know, look at things all the way down to the farthest levels and be able to come back and say, this is the plan to fix this. One of the things that, you know, used to grind my gears in working in the public service is all the talk shop. We do a lot of talking about the problems, but when it comes time to fix in terms of implementing solutions, we don't get there. You know, and I think for me, when I look back over the 20 years, because I came home in 2003, and it's 20 years later, you know, same problems, some are worse than what we were talking about then, and then there are some new ones on top of that. And that's why I'm saying, for me, you know, the country isn't just kind of like in this nice place. We're in a very treacherous place right now that we really have to, you know, start to focus our attention on what the problems are and how to fix them and actually execute, you know. And so as a project manager with 2 engineering degrees, it's something where that's innate in me. I can't see things going wrong and not try to fix it. So even sometimes in relationships, you know, we try to manage people. And it's like you have to pull back and understand it's not the same as a project. But if I see something going wrong, it's hard for me to just leave it and say, you know, that's somebody else's job to go and do. You know, we all have a responsibility. And I think if I consider myself to be a patriot, that is like you have to be willing to put it on the line for your country, no matter what.
And fix the right problem.
Fix the right
But you
problem.
also do believe that as a project, you can see the BVI as a project that you can really dissect and help.
Yeah.
Right? I can see how that can work.
Yeah.
And thinking about the project right next to you, and I'm going to call him Honorable Skelton, is not only that I'm speaking it into existence, is also, as you guys said, he earned that title, is just befitting. And you see that a project, and I know that he has a great business sense. So he probably sees that we can make some better, smarter business decisions. So, Honorable Skelton, I envisage that, you know, the way you are, you're comfortable, you know, you live a beautiful home, a nice life, you could travel across the world, you work for your family business every single day, probably drink cappuccinos, a malt. I don't know exactly what you like to drink. And when I think about how you possibly are comfortable in your older age, you've done a wonderful job for the territory before, we've called on you to serve, you've served us very well. What discomfort could there be, I think, that would draw you back into the political arena?
The discomfort that other people feel about the country. Because you don't live in a society by yourself, you live in a society with other people, and they are uncomfortable, and they believe that you can do something about their discomfort. I think you should leave your comfort zone and try to help. That's why I'm back.
And we do appreciate that. When you look at your new team, when you look at the people that are sitting next to you, and then we met the district candidates in the segment before, when you look at them, what do you think? Are you proud of what you...
I am extremely proud of these younger people. They're not young, but they're younger. I'm extremely proud of them. The commitment they're making to try to build this country back from where it has fallen. And I only have admiration for these young people, younger people.
Appreciate that. So you have 4 at-large votes. Do you know who you're voting for?
Yeah.
Do you know who you're voting for?
Absolutely.
Do you know 4 people you're voting
Of
for?
course.
Or who you're voting for?
I am going to check twice to make sure I vote for
Check twice. I'm not going to touch the edge of the box either. Right? Buddha, I'm going to call you what I'm comfortable with.
Sure.
Tell me what it is that you're impressed most about meeting Shayna.
So I've known Shayna for a very long time, right?
Okay.
As Shayna said, you know, Shayna is an engineer. Shayna is probably the most organized person that I've met in the last 10 years. Continue?
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. In the last 10 years, she's the most organized person that I've met, right?
Wonderful.
And I see what she brings to this team in terms of her organizational skills is very apparent. And if she can do it on this scale, I can only fathom what she will do when given the ability to help the country in a much larger way. I have confidence in Shayna's ability to organize and lead us. She has my vote.
Shayna, did you, coming to the PVIM was the first time you worked as close to Ingrid, or you've known her a little bit before?
I was trying to think about that, you know, when we started talking, but I don't think so.
Oh, good.
And this is like probably the first personal interaction.
Oh, Ingrid, have you met? Can you shake hands? Can you meet?
I was just going to remind her.
Oh, you remind me.
She was the chairman of the Virgin Islands Civil Service Association when I served as the chief registrar of lands in that registry.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Good.
I guess that's a good thing.
Good. And she remembers.
Yes,
Good.
yes, that's a
so
good
in
thing.
from a fresh mind, sitting now next to her, and you're going to do this new journey together, and you've been working, having meetings, I'm sure, together. What do you like most about her?
I think her boldness and her confidence. The other night we had a meeting actually to do that in terms of synergizing our thoughts as an at-large team. And it's like, you know, we were talking about what's your position on a particular thing. And she stepped up in front of the judges stand and she laid it out for us, Kareem. And it was like, without, you know, even a second thought, as it were. So it's like, you know, that level of confidence, again, in terms of being able to say, you know, I understand what a situation is, and this is why I can say, this is my position on it, you know, and not second guessing herself. I think I appreciate that even more so as a woman in leadership. Because a lot of times, sometimes we feel like we have to prove ourselves, but it is something where she just came forward and said, this is my position, and left it there, you know, and it's for you to take it on or put it back in the box, however you want it. So I really admire that about her just right off the bat.
And I'm looking at her facial expression, and she's just like, I don't know what else I would do. That's just who I naturally am.
Exactly,
Like she
right?
literally, she's supporting the message in this way that is just
That's me.
sensible and natural to me.
Yeah.
Mrs. I want to call you Ingrid. I don't want to call you that. But I'm a speaker. I want to say that. Tell me about Ronnie, Honorable Skelton.
The same way you just said, it's natural for me to exhibit that boldness because that is who I am. That's one of the reasons why I admire Honorable Skelton. I worked in the House of Assembly with him for 8 years.
Wow.
He was one of the members I respected most for his honesty, his forthrightness. He was one of the members who always came to the House of Assembly meetings and informal meetings on time, every time. He's open, he's upfront, and those are the very same qualities I share, and that is why I respect him. You always know where you stand with him, and he's a leader. He's not afraid to make bold decisions, not afraid to speak his mind. I have the very same traits. And anyone who's like that, because at the end of the day, you have to be true to who you are. You cannot sacrifice your principles, your standards, your integrity for anything or anyone, because those are attributes that once they're destroyed, they're gone. And at the end of the day, that's all we really have. It's the character of a person.
Wonderful. And Honorable Skelton, you'll tell me about Shayna.
Well, it's so funny that I work with Shayna on many projects. Ministry of Finance, when I went to the Ministry of Health. I worked with her, and she is very organized, extremely organized. She's too organized for me if you ask me.
I like that.
But don't ask me. You know, it's a skill set that she has that I admire. I wish I was as organized as she is, and I kind of organized because I am an engineer by profession. I'm an electrical engineer by profession. And Kevin, one of the things I wanted to leave with you also, most of the places that I go during my lifetime, I would like to think that I left them better than when I met them.
Yep.
You know, wherever I went, I try to do that. I try to, the people who are working with me to make them better than they are. I'm going to give you an example of a hurricane passed through when I was in electricity, and it destroyed about 50% of the system. The worker said it would take months to get his system back up. So I asked them why. They say, you know, based on their workload, they think that's a reasonable time. I say, okay, leave it to me. Tell me what you want, and we're going to do the best we can. In 2 weeks, we had the system back up. Because people sometimes don't understand the ability, the limit that they can go to make things happen. And this is what I like about this team, because including yourself, Kareem, and Mike, we don't know what we can achieve. We look at it and make it looks impossible. But in engineering, everything is possible. There are 10 solutions to every problem. It all depends on the circumstances and the resources you have available to you. So Shana is one of those people who can organize stuff and get things done. That's what I like about Shana.
So, Honorable Skelton, you're going to do double duty. So you just help us understand a bit more about Shane. I do appreciate that, but double duty for you. Tell us now about Buddha, because let me show you. I want you all to look around here, right? There is Honorable Skelton buttoned up to the top button, right? Very straight lace, you know. And there is over here. We have to beg you to close that one button. You know what I'm saying? And then the tattoos are coming on the arm. Tell us about him.
Buddha.
Yeah.
You know, it's so that I know Buddha ants, and sometimes he displays some of that personality when I'm conversing with him, and all I do is smile, and he will smile back at me, because you know he's a genuine person, and he likes young people. And when he came and said that he wanted to run, Mitch brought him, he wanted to run, I had no hesitation. And because I think he has the skill set, he has whatever it takes to make what he wants done, to help young people. And that's what we need. We have some other of the district candidates who are committed to helping the young people. You know, not that all of us are not committed, but we must have a spare on the arrow in order to make sure that we focus where we need to focus. And he can be the spear and arrow for the young people.
Appreciate that. Buddha, Stacy, correctly, what tattoo would we get for Honorable Skelton?
Too late.
It's too late? Not necessarily too late. I think I see him as a bear, a strong character.
Something strong?
Yeah, but still at the same time, approachable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to do something like that, and we're going to put it right here.
No, I think we should do it here.
Oh,
He might be uncomfortable with it
okay.
being here.
Understood. Accepted over there, sir? I love that. I have about one final question. I'd like to, like this, Brian. We call Ronnie the builder. We normally do call him that. He's the engineer. If I were to say Shana the, what would you naturally think you fit into? Shana the?
Well, they already called me. I'm the organizer.
You're the organizer.
I'm the whip.
Yeah.
Get things in shape.
And we need to organize an entire country. Can you handle that task?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Zingrin? I have a word for you, but I want to see what you think.
I think I want to hear your word.
I would say the advocate. I felt that. I felt that when you spoke. I felt that connection. I felt that thing that you would go out, you would step. I love the fact that you even telling us where your parents were from. I shared the same story with you as well. So what word would you have used?
Advocate is the right word, but just to break it down, I stand for what I think is right and what I believe in my heart is right. And I love people. I love this territory. My parents are the same. This is their home. There are everybody who comes to our shore, we have a responsibility to ensure that they're able to enjoy the very same life that my parents did when they came here as teenagers so many years ago. So for me, my passion is people. And anytime persons' rights, privileges, they're not treated fairly, or they're going to be taken advantage of, then I am going to stand up and speak.
We're going to nickname you the stance. That is your stance, that it's not going to change, all right? That's it. What would you use?
I'm going to be a teacher here for a moment. I'm going to throw that question back on you.
What would I use then?
Sure.
It's a challenging thing because
I know.
I do believe that your actual presence in the campaign, you actually represent, there's not a box that you can fit you into. Right? No box here. It would be like Buddha, no box here, Meta. You can teach, you can inspire, you can get projects done, you can probably extremely discipline people very well. So I think that for me, I just don't see a box. So I was wondering if there is one that you thought that you would fit into.
Not right now.
That's
I think
good.
for me right now, everything is about seeing that change, believing in that change that's necessary right now. So I'm comfortable. My life has been comfortable not being in a box.
Okay. If I had 12, the change maker, you know, but no box. I didn't see a box then. I think that's really good. You said earlier, usual hasn't worked for us. So we need something a little bit unusual. I do appreciate that. I feel that I've gotten to know you guys so much better in this little conversation. And you know what I do? Every election, I do definitely love working with the PVIM. But I look at you guys and I let you tell me your story, honestly. Like I literally say, I want to believe in this. And it was such a joy last time going to the poll and voting for the PVIM at large candidates. I was excited to vote for you. Excited. I remember that feeling and it's always been consistent. Shayna, for your longevity, deserving of the vote. Ingrid, I think that we can transparently say that once you said District 6, there's really no separation for me right there at all, okay? And Miss Camilla, my grandmother is no longer there, but she would be able to look over to the and this is a fence, by the way. It's literally a fence between the properties. Could look over and say, Miss Eglantine, you know, we voted for her, and that's done. And Buddha Meta, we can honestly say, like Christmas morning opening a present. I can't wait to vote for you. I never told you thank you for that science fair when I don't know how you could. I'm a 12-year-old child, you know? So I'm going to thank you by giving you that X on that day. And I wish you guys the absolute best. And I know that, as the candidates before said, standing for any election is something you have to really consider. But even myself, like deciding to work with a team, it's your own name and reputation on the line. And I feel comfortable working with and for this team. Because just like you, integrity matters to me. My sister Ayana taught me that integrity is what you do when no one is watching. And if you could finish the sentence, there is nothing else we need to say. It is the exact note that we can conclude this awesome time sitting in the presence of integrity. Thank you for spending this time with us. We remind you of the principles: accountability, empowerment, transparency, inspiration, integrity, and hope. If integrity matters to you, trust me, it matters more to the team that I stand with. When you go to the polls for election 2023, vote PVIM. Thank you for watching.